Also joining us, Hogan Gidley, former Deputy White House Press Secretary for the Trump administration. Hogan, let's start with you. Donald Trump, do you expect him on the stage next week? And is it and whatever move he makes, you don't? Okay, is that the right move?
Yeah, look, Ronna is in an interesting spot here because what she's got to do is try to put forth all the candidates, have them debate ideas publicly, and have kind of the most robust debate she can possibly have. The problem is, I think she's going to be without the person who leads the polls by upwards of 40% in a lot of these areas. And the fact is, Donald Trump is looking more and more as though he's not going to attend this. I don't think there was ever really a chance he would have. But if I were advising him, and I'm not advising him today, I don't work for Donald Trump right now, but the fact is, I would tell him, do not go up on that stage. Why would you go there and risk a 40-point lead being everyone's punching bag? Now, if there's anyone who could handle that onslaught, it'd be Donald Trump. If anyone could punch back and actually make those attacks turn positives for him, it could be Donald Trump. But I just don't think he's going to make the trip for this one. I don't think there's any upside for him as a candidate at this point to stand on that debate stage with those folks.
Hogan, stand by. I'll give you the last word, but over to the panel now. What'd you make of what you heard from Ronna McDaniel and Hogan saying he doesn't anticipate?
I'm not surprised that he doesn't anticipate it. There's neutral and there's neutral. You know, Ronna said that she was neutral. The RNC needs Trump more than Trump needs the RNC. That's the bottom line for everything that it's done for fundraising. And I would be surprised if they altered the rules or were willing to bend them for anyone other than President Trump. So I think what you're hearing are people who
it did sound like she was saying that we'll bend them, but it's one thing telling me that, and then it's another thing telling Donald Trump. I don't know. It sounded to me, and maybe I heard it wrong, that she said that he'd signed something for the South Carolina ballot, which seemed to be like a sort of escape hatch. I don't really know.
Was that during the last election or this one?
Who knows? Maybe I heard it wrong. But either way, like, the bottom line is there's a one-way need train, and it's going from the RNC to Trump.
It was described as an interesting spot by Hogan, and I think the spot we are in is hostage and hostage taker. And there is no leverage on the part of the RNC to force Donald Trump to go do this debate. He's not going to sign the pledge. You heard Ronna McDaniel just defend fake electors, right? That is the position that the husk of the RNC is in, and has been in that position since 2016 because Donald Trump is bigger than the Republican Party, and he doesn't need that.
There were contingent electors, and those persons were not prosecuted, that were contingent and signed it as contingent.
I would say this, and I'd like to hear Hogan respond to this too. You know, if Donald Trump is so confident that he's going to win the primary, why doesn't he go on that debate stage and present his argument to the American people as though he's debating Joe Biden? He should run on his own agenda, what he accomplished, so he can actually start thinking about the general. But so far, you know, it seems as though he's really just concerned about the Donald Trump show, and he's overly confident.
Rebecca jumping in and doing half of my job for me. I'll take it. I like it. Hogan, she asked you the question. What would your answer be?
Look, again, there's no upside for him here. I understand you want him to debate, and you say, my gosh, he's so far ahead. Look at him go up there and let's take control of this thing. But at the same time, Donald Trump is a showman, as Ronna pointed out. And quite frankly, it'd be smarter for him to do counter-programming at the same time, pull some of the viewership away, and do it with someone, a big name, go on television and talk about his agenda and what he's going to do to defeat Joe Biden, how he's going to make this country get back on the right track and put those America First policies back implemented for all the people to succeed under. But I just don't see the benefit for him in any way to go up there. And look, debates are about creating moments, and there are going to be a lot of chances for Vivek and for Tim Scott and Chris Christie and DeSantis to make those moments happen. But they're all trying to climb that rung of the ladder to get closer to Donald Trump, but they can't do it all at once. They have to knock out each other first.
Hey, Hogan, I gotta
letting them do this before they go up against Trump. Whatever, we'll see what happens.
I got to run, but I got to ask you, if there is counter programming, do you know what it is?
Oh no, I don't.
What that might be and what that might look like? No.
I hear he may call you though and do something at the same time. Could he come on the Hill? At the same time?
Yeah, we'll take him. We'll take the interview.
Okay.
You can sit up here with us too, Hogan. Make it happen. I appreciate it. All right, Hogan, we'll leave it there. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thanks for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to subscribe. Click the red button to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.